All right. Good afternoon to everyone. Myself, Archana, and I have Sammy here. Sammy's name is not up there on the board, but I just want to call out. And I also want to let you guys know that this session is not about RSAT. I think I did hear or get some questions from the audience asking if this is about regression suite automation tool. This is about generic testing strategy and the type of testing that we recommend as part of the implementation lifecycle. And we will also try to give you some insight into some of the tools that we would recommend for some of the testing. So with that, just the way we have a life cycle for developing a solution, the same concept applies for testing as well. And I'm sure you guys are all aware of that. So the very first step that I would say for an entry criteria will be to make sure that you have the requirements gathered, and you have a good understanding of, hey, has all my questions been covered? And if there are issues that you need to take up with, there are doubts that you need to clarify with your business analyst, those are clear during the requirements gathering itself. You define the focus, you define the priority of your testing. You also decide and determine what is the environment that you will be actually executing these tests against. Then comes the test planning, where you will ensure that this is probably, I'll say, the artifact will be a test strategy document. What that should incorporate would be what are the resources that you will need, what is the testing tool that you will utilize, what is the environment that would actually intend to execute these tests against, possibly what does the test data look like, as well as should you be automating some of these tests, and what is the sequence in which you should be testing these, as well as effort estimation, like how long will it take to get these tests done, and how many resources you would need for the testing cycle. So that is possibly the test planning phase. After that will be where you'll ensure that you have the test data, you have the test plan in place, and you're going to start and creating the test cases and executing them. So that is where the testing phase is, where you'll start executing those test cases based on all this analysis that you have done. And the idea is not that the testing is not just to actually find the defects, but you're also kind of preparing for these tests in parallel to the other resources during the requirements phase itself, so you have a better understanding of what is that you should be testing for, and that you have a good idea as to, like I said, should you be automating it, or should you be manually testing, and what is that effort that is required to go through this testing cycle. So the final data preparation is where, post the testing, what are the artifacts that's going to come out of it? So the document outcomes could be your bug report. It could be some of the defects that have been raised as part of this testing. And the exit criteria will be to make sure that the defects are resolved and you are retesting it and ensuring that the solution is validated. So again, this could be one round, and it could be, again, repeated as part of your CRP, conference room pilots, or your test pilots. So I'm sure this is something that all of us are familiar with. So what are the different testing that you should be thinking about when it comes to the implementation of finance and operations? And if you have been a part of our solution architect blueprint review, you would have always heard us asking questions about, hey, what does your integration strategy look like? What does your integration architecture look like? What does the testing look like? So there are a lot of questions that we cover as part of that to ensure that from a go-live point of view, these things are taken into account even before you go live. Because one of the things that we notice with our implementations is that we hardly see a performance environment being accounted for. We hardly see performance testing in the project timeline. And it's always a question as to, hey, do you guys intend to do performance testing? And I always get the response, yep, we do intend to. And how do you intend to do that? Oh, we're just going to get about 50 users, doing data entry into the system. That's not necessarily performance testing. So Sammy is going to go into details on what we mean by performance testing and what are the different aspects that you should be thinking about and covering as part of your implementation. Same thing with migrated data. We have seen in enough implementations that some of the testing that's being done is not on the migrated data. So yes, you can do a certain amount of data with certain amount of testing with test data, but at some point of time, if you are planning to bring in historical transactions or any kind of opening balances from your legacy systems, it will make sense to make sure that you are doing a certain amount of testing on that migrated data as well. Another thing that we commonly see is security. Almost always, testing with the right security roles are always left to the last. That is something that we keep insisting during our reviews as well to make sure that security roles are assigned and testing is done with the right security roles in the earlier cycle itself. Mock cutover, pretty straightforward. It should be something that all our customers should be doing right before going live. It could be done in the UAT, the Tier 2 environment that Microsoft provides with the subscription, or it could even be done in your production. If you're ready with all the artifacts, we do allow deployment of environment 30 to 45 days before go live. So you could even possibly do a mock cutover testing or a smoke testing in production in such a manner that you can always roll back the data using point-in-time restore. So these are some of the aspects from an implementation point of view that we look and we call out as, hey, these are some of the things that you should be testing. The last point is regression. In some of the sessions here, you might have heard us, our new offering, Regression Suite Automation Tool. It doesn't have to be RSAT itself. It could be some other existing tool that you guys already have in-house. But with the one version and the continuous update journey that we are on, where we are releasing monthly updates, you have to pick up at a minimum 2 updates per year. So essentially, you still need to plan for some sort of regression testing cycle or regression testing tool in the implementation journey for finance and operation. So environments. Again, the reason why we bring this up is because planning for environments is important in, again, Dynamics 365 for finance and operations subscription, because of the fact that your subscription agreement, it just comes along with just 3 environments. One is your production, another is your sandbox, and then you get a develop and test. You need to plan for it if you're a customer, you need to plan for that, or if you're a partner, you need to plan with your customer to ensure that you understand how many add-ons are required as you move forward in the implementation. And to understand how many add-ons are required, you need to know what are the different stages for which you will need an environment. There's a possibility that you might be able to reuse, like for example, the training environment could be reused for maybe functional testing. There's a good chance that once the data migration is complete, you might be able to utilize that for performance testing. But we'll also need to plan for what type of environment you need for the respective testing, because we do allow add-ons of different tiers. If you're familiar with the tiers in our subscription, you do know that each tier has a different infrastructure topology. So again, proper granularity in environment strategy, it provides higher flexibility and speed and quality of implementation. From a solution acceptance point of view, we would definitely say validate on the UAT. The UAT should be done or validated on a tier 2 or a tier higher than tier 2 environment. Reason being, Tier 1 is a SQL Server, while Tier 2 onwards is a SQL Azure, and that has a topology that is more compatible or comparable with our production. So doing any kind of testing on Tier 1 is a definite yes for us to say, we cannot deploy production for you. So when we do a production deployment readiness review, if we have actually noticed in telemetry that you have actually done your testing in Tier 1, unfortunately, there's no way we'll be able to tell you, hey, go ahead with production deployment. We will not be able to do that. So that is the reason why make sure that UAT is always performed on Tier 2 or a higher environment. Test the real-life situations. This is essentially to indicate that a lot of times performance testing or functional testing involves testing those scenarios independently. Like you will test integration independently, you will test batch independently just to make sure that integration batch works. But a lot of times it's not done in the same sequence as how it is performed in or how it will be done in production. So what we recommend is a day in the life. Again, Samuel will go into the details, but essentially what we're looking for is make sure that your integrations, batch, interactive activities, all of these are conducted in UAT in the same sequence with the comparable data at the same frequency as how it will be done in production. Don't implement outside of the subscription. This is mostly coming from the reason that even if you can deploy an environment against your own subscription, the cloud-hosted environments we are talking about, or even if you have a local VHD, all of that are, at the end of the day, SQL Server. So none of them have an infrastructure that is comparable to that of production, which has SQL Azure. The only way you can deploy a high availability, a Tier 2 SQL Azure multi-box environment will be through our Microsoft subscription. So do not implement outside of the subscription. The performance measured against Tier 1s are not going to be relevant. And again, with integration, because you would notice that, you would have noticed, I don't think we have any customers doing that at this stage, but in the initial phases, we had a lot of customers trying to do integration testing with Tier 1, SQL Server to, let's say, an on-prem system, it works perfectly fine. The moment they actually migrate or promote that to UAT, they start running into issues because your integration connections are not necessarily going to be the same to an on-prem environment when you're trying to connect from a SQL Azure, for example. So all of it is just to let you know, try to make sure, or it is mandatory to make sure that you're actually doing your UAT or you're testing on a tier 2 or higher. In terms of this last point is just to make sure that it is important that not just the partner, but the customer resources are also equally familiar with the steps that needs to be taken with respect to servicing in LCS. Some of these processes are not something our customers are familiar with. And as a partner, once you step out, once implementation is done, and once you step out, there's a good chance that we have seen customers struggling with some of these processes with respect to servicing and deployment in LCS. The last point is get the business sign-off, which is to make sure that all the parties involved are all on the same page in alignment with what has been tested, what is not tested, and if there are things that are not completely tested or not completely developed, or if there are multiple phases of go live, what are the next go forward steps that you need to take once the customer goes live? Because there could be scenarios that you will need to test post go live, or there could be areas that you will need to kind of like keep an eye on. For example, once you go live, is there a chance that the business data volume is going to increase? If yes, should the batches still be in the same recurrence that they are at this stage? There's a good chance that you are probably having a frequency of every hour, maybe a batch process is running. When the data volume increases, can they still be running at every hour, or could they be overlapping? So these are some of those aspects that you'll need to think through and make sure that you're getting the business sign-off. So it's not just about testing before go-live, it's also making sure that you're planning for after go-live as well. On that note, I'm going to hand over to Sammy.
Thank you, Archana. Thank you, Archana. Do you hear me all? Okay. Yeah. We'll just try to dig in a little bit in the first kind of testing, which are unit tests. Oh, sorry. Do you hear me well? Is better? Okay. Thank you. Do you hear me? Back? Okay. For unit tests, we firstly want to say that this is a developer-oriented kind of test. Developer had to write some code. We saw regularly in multiple projects as essays, people using the task recorder to generate some classes to use them as a unit test classes. This is definitely not possible as a unit test because this is a business cycle test as it's coming from the UI. For those who are recording that kind of processes, we should definitely tell you to use those recording with RSAT. This is a tool which is not based on development, but on recording, and which will give you end-to-end tests. For unit tests, the idea is to test specific methods of classes and to ensure and to include them in a build automation to ensure that even if you change your code over time, your method is still working. One of the constraints we see very often with unit tests are related to the coupling of data. If you have your tests which are based on data which are in the database, it's quite hard to ensure that those tests will remain reliable and viable in the future because data can evolve. Some solutions can be based on some complex building pipelines based on database restore, etc. One other possibility is to use what we call sysfake. It's a package available in the development environments and which allows you to simulate the behavior of a specific standard method to return whatever you want, exactly as this is done in more classical web development. This will gives you ability to decouple your unit test from your data and maximize the chance to keep your test reliable during your build. And of course, the slide just showing that if you integrate this in your build pipeline, you will have the ability to detect really early, eventually some regressions, right? Yeah, far before functional testing, which can be costing. The second kind of test I would like to highlight are the integration testing. For those one, we should distinguish two kinds of integration. The first one are the OData integration, which are synchronous. For those, I don't know if you know that our site is not covering that section, but there are multiple ways to do that. One of them is, of course, to build your own way using tools like Logic Apps, which allows you to call your API, your OData API. But another way is also to use some tools in the market, which can just captures the traffic, the HTTP traffic, and replace it. That gives you an easy way just to capture whatever you want and test the volume you want by replaying those scenarios. There are a lot of tools in the market doing that, and that's a possible solution to eventually simulate peak volumes, simulate a variety of data tests, etc. The third testing protocol we want to highlight is the performance test scenario. The most important thing here is to try to mimic what will happen on your production. The aim of this is to not be surprised once the production will be released and detect issues regarding performance too late. And to achieve that, there is a Perf SDK, which is a tool Microsoft provides. Not sure all of you are aware, but we have updated the documentation for Performance SDK last week, and we are providing now a detailed guide to help you set up multi-user testing using from Azure DevOps, which means it simulates your workload from DevOps. The documentation has been in for 5 or 6 days now, and definitely you should go that way. Another thing is also to try to simulate the real behavior of your end users, during your production. You should try probably to build it step by step. First, focus on the most critical flows you have, and do it step by step. Do not try to cover all your processes from a performance point of view. This doesn't make sense. Most of the accessory features are just used by one or two users and will never present any issue from a performance point of view. You should try to focus on really what you think is a potential risk from a performance point of view. I think I just summarized a little bit this slide for about performance testing. You should then define first your objectives, then define your scenario. When I say design your test, it's much more using the Perf SDK. You should record the scenario you want and then adapt the classes to generate the amount of volume you want. And then you can simulate eventually if you want a high volume of data using data expansion tool, which is a tool provided with FNO. And then you can execute your tests, and of course you have to monitor it to ensure that you are having the level of performance you want. The last kind of testing I would like to focus on are the end-to-end testing, and definitely this section has to be handled with RSAT. This is our advice. It gives you the ability to record your scenarios from an end-to-end point of view using test suites, play them, and have accurate details on what could be the errors. You can validate the result of your steps, not only running, but have a validation of the content of what you are doing, and you can chain the test. You can also use a user context on your recording by setting the email of a user to enforce his own security rules and to test in real life scenarios. And with this picture, we should have covered all the important testing scenarios we should cover. I think that's all for us. we have to share with you this evaluation slide. Please give us your feedback. We are really interested in. It's important for us. Thank you very much. Thanks for attending.